Hi, I'm Allison Ellis of realflowerbusiness.com. I want to talk about minimums today. Minimums are so important to your business. Should you have one or should you not? I can't answer that question for you. You have to know what is right for your business, but I can give you a little insight into how I think about the minimum. First, my minimum is making it clear to people what it takes to tango with me, right? I don't have a blanket minimum at this point in my career. I used to have like a set minimum that was on my website. But after many years, what I started to realize was my quotes were all coming in like $1,000 over the minimum that I was stating, my minimum. And that made me realize that my minimum was really arbitrary because my customers were no longer in that budget range. They were in a different bracket, right? So that's when I finally decided I'm going to take this off my website. And now I present a minimum to each client individually, right? Because at the end of the day, someone who has 250 guests and 8 bridesmaids is going to have a different minimum than someone who, has 50 to 75 guests and only has a maid of honor, doesn't have a big wedding party, right? So that's at my point in my career how I handle the minimum. The biggest hesitation that people seem to have around setting a minimum is being afraid to turn people away. That is their biggest concern. I don't want to turn people away. I don't want people to feel like I'm excluding them. Well, here's the thing. The minimum is designed to turn people away and exclude people, okay? That is its nature. That is what it is intended to do. If you don't want to turn people away, you don't want to set a minimum. It's just that simple. But if you're at a place in your business like I was years ago, where as a one-woman floral army, there's only so many weddings I can take in a weekend, even in a month, frankly, right? Because there's so much paperwork and work on the upfront that we have to do. There's only so many jobs I can take in a season. And my season's only about 5 months long here in Vermont. So I have a really short window to, make that money and book these weddings, right? So I had to set a standard. I had to start turning people away who did not have a minimum amount to spend that was in line with what I needed to hit my sales goals, right? Because if I can only take 15 weddings a year or 20 weddings a year, I need each one to hit a certain profit margin, right? In order for my business to stay profitable and successful. So for me, I can relate to the scariness and the fear really of, what are people going to think about this? But you have to run your numbers. The numbers will always help you with that answer. Is it time for you to set a minimum? Do you need to start saying no to jobs that are just not big enough for you? Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. Maybe the smaller gigs are actually perfect for your business. I'll tell you, at this point in my business, I'm in my 17th season. I like a couple of smaller weddings. I've got a few smaller weddings dappled here and there throughout my season. And I love them. They have been so great because they are still profitable, they're easy to do, and they fit my lifestyle. And that is what, being the owner, being my own business, the floralpreneur in charge, right? The one-woman army, the wearer of all the hats, right? If I'm going to do all that, I have to also be able to create freedom in my business and create a life that I enjoy. And so setting a minimum helps me do that. Or relaxing my minimum and taking smaller weddings helps me do that. We can't just set a minimum and just leave it there forever. We've got to always be reevaluating. There's an ebb and flow in business all the time. There is always a high point and a low point. It varies. It's not easy. I can relate to anyone out there who struggles with am I going to meet my sales goal this year? We go through that every year, right? Every business, we go through that every year. Setting a minimum, though, is a personal decision that you should really make based on who your customers are and what your business goals are. So if you do decide to set a minimum, I want to congratulate you on being brave enough to do it. And if you need to relax your minimum, I congratulate you on being brave enough to recognize that you need to do that. The bottom line is this: it's personal. So make it personal to not only your business, but who your client is. Because at the end of the day, It's all about who you're selling to and what matters to them. So keep that in mind when you're setting your minimum. Thanks so much for watching. Keep doing beautiful work, and I will see you next time.